Lana Jones woke up every day at 6 in the morning, like clockwork. She'd stretch her arms overhead, slip into her fluffy robe, and tiptoe downstairs to start the coffee. By the time her husband, Adrian, descended the elegant spiral staircase, the table would be set with fresh fruit, toast, and an omelette sprinkled with herbs from her small kitchen garden. She took pride in these small routines. This was her life, or so she thought. Before she married Adrian, Lana had been an aspiring interior designer. She'd won a handful of local awards and had a small client base of loyal homeowners who admired her keen sense of color and balance. But once Adrian proposed, she set her passion aside to support his growing business. He was a charismatic entrepreneur who thrived in the world of mergers and acquisitions, and she believed in his dreams. Over the years, Lana became his backbone. She managed his schedules, arranged meetings, cooked for his clients, and played the perfect hostess. Adrian often boasted to his friends, "I couldn't do this without my wife. She's my secret weapon." Whenever he said that, Lana felt a rush of pride, believing her contributions truly mattered. Yet something shifted. It started subtly. Adrian would come home later and later. A tension lingered on his brow, even when she greeted him with a warm smile. He became impatient over trivial things, criticizing dinner or the way she did the laundry. At first, she thought it was just the pressure of a large deal. But on a crisp autumn morning, she felt a pang of worry when he chose to answer a phone call in the garage instead of the living room. He looked startled when he realized she'd noticed, and he quickly shut the door. That day, a faint sense of unease settled in the pit of Lana's stomach. She tried to ignore it, convincing herself she was overreacting. After all, she'd always been enough, always the supportive wife, always the one who would go the extra mile. But sometimes, being perfect isn't enough for someone bent on finding something, or someone else. Lana would learn the painful truth soon enough. For now, she brushed aside her worries and continued making the morning coffee, determined to keep their life together as harmonious as possible. She couldn't shake the feeling that life as she knew it was about to change, and not for the better. The first real red flag came one evening when Adrian claimed he had a late meeting with an important investor. Lana, eager to please, packed him a small snack box, knowing he often forgot to eat when he was stressed. She sent him off with a gentle kiss on the cheek. As the door closed behind him, she felt an odd chill. Hours later, Lana heard the familiar rumble of the garage door opening. She glanced at the clock, 2:14 a.m. She padded downstairs quietly, her heart thumping. Adrian stepped into the kitchen with a guilty expression. His tie was askew, his hair tousled, and he carried a faint scent of perfume that definitely wasn't hers. "Hey," he said, voice tight, "why are you still up?" He placed his keys on the granite counter. "I was worried," Lana said softly. "It's so late. Are you okay?" He turned away to avoid her gaze. "Just a long meeting that ran over. Didn't I text you?" She shook her head. "No, you didn't." Adrian muttered something about a dead phone battery and trudged up the stairs. Lana stood there, unsettled. The perfume lingered in the air, a sharp reminder that something wasn't right. The next morning, she decided not to bring it up. She tried to convince herself that she was reading too much into it, that the perfume smell could have been from a colleague or the after-hours bar they visited to finalize the deal. Yet, deep inside, unease gnawed at her. Soon after, she found a lipstick-stained shirt in the laundry. The color was a bold red, a shade Lana never wore. She set the shirt aside, intending to ask Adrian about it. But before she could gather the courage to confront him, he was already out the door for another long day of business. That evening, she gently placed the shirt on the dining table. When Adrian returned, the tension in the air was palpable. She pointed to the shirt. "Do you want to explain this?" He stared at it, face unreadable. Then he smirked as if it was no big deal. "Relax, Lana. It must have been from a friendly hug at the office. You know how people are." "You're sure that's all it was?" she asked, her voice trembling with hurt and suspicion. He nodded, but his eyes darted away, a sign she'd come to recognize as a lie. Despite the doubt flaring in her chest, Lana forced a smile. She wanted to trust him. She wanted her perfect marriage to remain intact. But the lipstick stain was just the beginning. From that day forward, the smell of foreign perfume and the stain of betrayal would linger, warning her that the life she'd built was on the verge of collapse. Lana mustered the courage to confront Adrian properly a few days later. The sleepless nights had taken their toll, and she realized she couldn't go on pretending everything was fine. She asked Adrian to join her for coffee in their cozy living room, a space she had meticulously decorated with plush rugs and tasteful artwork. "Adrian, we need to talk," she began, her hands shaking slightly around her coffee mug. She took a deep breath. "I know something's wrong. You've been distant. The late nights, the phone calls you won't explain, the lipstick on your shirt. It's time for honesty." He stared at her for a moment, a flicker of annoyance in his eyes. Then he gave a short laugh that chilled her to the bone. "You're always so dramatic, Lana. Fine, you want honesty? Here it is. I've met someone else." Her breath caught. In all her nightmares, she hadn't expected him to be this blunt, this cruel. "What do you mean, someone else?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "A new woman," he replied, looking her dead in the eye. "She's everything you're not, exciting, ambitious, connected. She's from a wealthy family, and she supports my bigger goals. Frankly, Lana, I'm tired of the small life we have. I want more." Tears welled in Lana's eyes. She tried to steady her trembling lips. "But I've given you everything. I've worked so hard to support you." He rolled his eyes. "That's the problem. You've been so busy being my shadow, my assistant, my personal housekeeper, you forgot to grow. Meanwhile, I've evolved, and I need a partner who matches my energy." His words stung like poison-tipped arrows, each one striking her heart. She felt her world shattering. "Is there something I can do?" He cut her off. "Don't embarrass yourself by asking me to stay. I'm done. I've been done for a while." The finality in his voice was like a slap across the face. She set her coffee mug down before she dropped it. In that moment, she realized the man she had loved for years was a stranger, a callous, unrecognizable person who no longer valued her. Adrian stood, brushing imaginary lint off his slacks. "I'm meeting her later tonight," he said, as if announcing a mundane errand. "Don't wait up." For a few seconds, Lana couldn't move, couldn't speak. She simply watched him walk away, the echo of his footsteps pounding in her ears. Her perfect life had crumbled in an instant. Lana spent the next few days in a fog of shock and heartbreak. She avoided Adrian when he was home. He no longer bothered with excuses. Sometimes, she would see him scrolling through photos of his new woman, Natasha, on his phone, a smug grin on his face. The stark reality that she was being replaced stung with every passing moment. One evening, Adrian summoned her to the living room. He was leaning against the marble fireplace, sipping a glass of whiskey. The air felt heavy, thick with tension. "We need to finalize some things," he announced coldly. Her stomach churned. "What things?" He took another swig of whiskey and sighed impatiently. "Our divorce. The sooner we do this, the better." She had anticipated this, but hearing it said aloud felt like an icy dagger. "Divorce?" she repeated, her voice small. "Adrian, can't we?" He slammed his glass down on the mantel. "Stop asking if there's a chance to fix this. There isn't. I'm already moving on with Natasha. We plan on getting married as soon as this is over." At the mention of Natasha's name, Lana's eyes brimmed with fresh tears. She tried to stand tall, to show some dignity, but she was trembling. "What about the house?" she asked, glancing around the elegant living room she had lovingly decorated. He shrugged. "It's all mine. We both know the deed is in my name. I paid the mortgage. As for the business, you might think you've contributed, but there's nothing in writing to prove you own a share. I made sure of that from the start." Lana's heart pounded. "I trusted you," she managed. "I believed we were partners." He let out a cruel laugh. "Don't be naive. You were my wife, yes, but you never took legal steps to protect your stake. Now, You walk away with nothing. And the car, obviously, I'll keep that too. In the silence that followed, she felt her world collapse all over again. She had dedicated her life to him, to their dreams, believing she was an integral part of his success. And now he was leaving her with nothing but heartbreak. "Where am I supposed to go?" she whispered, choking back tears. He shrugged again, as though her life wasn't his concern. "That's not my problem. Good luck." He left the room with an air of finality, leaving Lana standing there, feeling as though she had been hollowed out from the inside. This was the ultimate betrayal, not just the affair, but the calculated way he had stripped her of everything she thought was hers. The next day, Adrian showed no mercy. He waited until Lana stepped out to run a short errand, picking up groceries to cook a meal she foolishly hoped might soften him, and locked the doors behind her. When she returned, the security system code had been changed. She stood at the front door, bags of groceries in hand, tears burning her cheeks as she realized she was effectively locked out of her own home. Moments later, Adrian's voice emerged from the intercom. "Lana, I told you, this is over. Go find somewhere else to stay. Don't make this messy." "I just need my clothes, my things," she pleaded, pressing the intercom button. "Adrian, please." His only response was the cold buzz of the line disconnecting. Panicking, she raced around to the backyard, hoping to find another way in. All windows were locked. Her desperation grew. This was her home. She had designed much of its interior, chosen its furniture, even planted the garden roses. Now, she was being cast aside like a piece of trash. With tears streaming down her face, she called a few close friends. Most of them were not home or didn't pick up immediately. Finally, an old high school friend, Mia, answered. Within an hour, Mia was there, helping her collect the suitcase Adrian had tossed onto the front porch. It contained only a few garments, some toiletries, and a handwritten note, "Don't come back." In the days that followed, Lana tried to reach out to Adrian, hoping his anger might subside. But every call, every text went unanswered. Online, however, it was a different story. She saw photos of him and Natasha, draped in designer labels, sipping champagne in exotic locations, flaunting a life of luxury on social media. The cruelest part was knowing much of that lifestyle was built on the foundation of the business she had helped him grow. Lana spent her nights on Mia's couch, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment of her marriage. She cried until she was numb. Even in her sorrow, a tiny spark of anger began to glow in her heart. Anger at Adrian for discarding her so cruelly, and anger at herself for allowing it to happen. Homeless, heartbroken, and stripped of everything, Lana felt as if she had nowhere to go but down. Yet sometimes, hitting rock bottom is the first step toward an unexpected and unstoppable rise. Mia's couch wasn't exactly comfortable, but Lana wasn't in a position to complain. She spent her days oscillating between despair and confusion. Though Mia tried to be supportive, offering cups of tea and gentle hugs, Lana could sense the pity in her friend's eyes. Friends from her social circle began sending pitying messages along the lines of, "We're so sorry to hear," or "That's awful, didn't see that coming." Some even avoided her altogether, as though divorce were contagious. One afternoon, Lana attempted to apply for jobs. She had an impressive resume in interior design from years ago, before she married Adrian. But the workforce had changed, and potential employers were hesitant to hire someone who had a large employment gap. She felt her confidence eroding with every polite rejection email. "She's a friend, not an employer," Mia said softly. "She's allowed to be there for you." "Exactly. But I hate being a burden." Despite Mia's efforts to comfort her, Lana felt the suffocating weight of her new reality. Her bank account was running on fumes. She had to rebuild, but her mind was clouded with grief and betrayal. Each time she tried to look ahead, she'd be haunted by memories. The wedding day, the moment Adrian proposed, the laughter they once shared. Late one night, Lana scrolled through social media. Natasha's face beamed from the screen, arm in arm with Adrian, celebrating a new business deal. The caption read, "Moving forward and upward. Couldn't do it without my amazing partner in crime." The bile rose in Lana's throat. She slammed the phone down, disgusted at how quickly she had been erased from the narrative. In the stillness of that night, as she lay on Mia's couch, Lana realized she had truly hit rock bottom. And in that realization, she discovered a small ember of determination beginning to glow. Perhaps, just perhaps, she could turn her pain into power. 2 weeks into her new reality, Lana got a call that would change her life's trajectory. The phone rang late in the afternoon, and she answered with a weary, "Hello." "Lana?" "It's Ethan Summers," the male voice said, warm yet professional. "Ethan." She sat up straighter, remembering her old college friend. They had met in a marketing class and worked on a group project that had earned them top marks. Ethan had been ambitious, even then. She'd heard rumors he was now a successful tech CEO. "Oh my goodness, it's been ages. How did you find my number?" "I kept your contact all these years. I heard about what happened with Adrian," he said delicately. "I'm sorry you're going through this." Heat flooded her cheeks, embarrassed that her personal tragedy had become gossip. "It's not my best moment," she admitted quietly. He cleared his throat. "Look, I'd like to help if I can. Why don't we catch up over coffee?" "My treat." Nerves jangled in Lana's stomach. Part of her wanted to shrink away from anyone who knew her as Adrian's wife. But Ethan wasn't just anyone. He was an old friend who might understand. "Sure," she said after a pause. "Coffee sounds nice." They met the next morning at an upscale cafe downtown. Lana felt self-conscious in her simple blouse and worn jeans, but Ethan greeted her like an old friend, enveloping her in a warm hug. They chatted about old times, late-night study sessions, campus pranks, and the dreams they once shared. Finally, Ethan leaned forward, his eyes sincere. "Lana, I heard a bit about what Adrian did. And let me just say, you deserve so much better." She swallowed hard, tears threatening. "I'm just trying to figure out where to go from here." He gave her a reassuring smile. "Look, I always remembered you as the smartest person in any room. You had this knack for organization, creativity, and design. I bet you still have it. Don't let one jerk make you forget that." His words were a much-needed balm to her wounded ego. "Thank you," she whispered. Ethan nodded. "Now, I'm not just here to comfort you. I believe in you, Lana. If you're up for it, I'd like to discuss a business idea, something that could help you rebuild your life on your terms." A spark of hope flickered in Lana's chest for the first time since Adrian had locked her out of her own home. She nodded, eager and curious. Little did she know, this meeting would set in motion a grand comeback she never thought possible. Ethan laid out his proposition over a second cup of cappuccino, the warm aroma of roasted coffee beans blending with the fresh hope filling Lana's heart. He spoke with the calm confidence of someone who had built an empire from scratch. "I want to expand my tech firm into a more diversified holding company," he explained. "We're looking at real estate, interior design solutions, and marketing for home-based tech innovations. And I remember how brilliant you were at interior design." Lana felt a twinge of excitement. "That was a lifetime ago. I haven't designed anything in years." Ethan shrugged. "Talent like yours doesn't vanish. It might be dormant, but it's there. Also, you have first-hand knowledge of how to run a business. Didn't you manage Adrian's day-to-day operations?" Her cheeks reddened at the mention of Adrian, but she nodded. "Yes. I scheduled all his meetings, balanced accounts, pitched ideas, and managed project timelines." "That's invaluable experience," Ethan said with conviction. "I'm offering you a chance to run a subsidiary. You'd lead a team focused on designing and marketing smart home systems, from layout planning to aesthetic integration. Essentially, you'd be CEO of your own division, under the umbrella of my firm." Her breath caught. The idea sounded thrilling and terrifying. CEO. Ethan smiled, noticing her apprehension. "You can do this, Lana. I'll mentor you. But I want you to helm it." She took a moment to let the offer sink in. Her mind reeled. This was the kind of opportunity people dream about. Yet, a part of her felt unworthy after everything that had happened. "Why me?" she finally asked. "Because you're capable, and you deserve a fresh start," Ethan replied, his gaze unwavering. Also, I believe in second chances, and in your potential." Her tears threatened to spill over, but she blinked them back. For the first time in weeks, she felt a glimmer of self-worth. "I'll do it," she said, voice trembling with emotion. "I'm ready." Ethan nodded, satisfied. "Great. Let's start drafting the strategy. But I have one more suggestion." "What's that?" He leaned forward, eyes glinting. "Use this as a chance to show Adrian what he lost. Don't just move on, excel. Build something so extraordinary that he'll regret underestimating you for the rest of his life." Lana sat back, absorbing his words. A slow smile tugged at her lips. She had never been one for petty revenge. But maybe, just maybe, the sweetest form of retribution would be shining brighter than Adrian could ever imagine. In the days that followed, Lana threw herself into her new role with fierce determination. She turned Mia's dining room into a makeshift office, scattering architectural sketches, business plans, and color swatches across every surface. Ethan set up daily check-ins, guiding her through the intricacies of launching a new division. He provided resources, introduced her to potential clients, and even helped secure an initial round of funding. Although Mia's small apartment was cramped with Lana's papers and mood boards, her friend never once complained. "I'm just glad to see you energized again," Mia remarked one afternoon, handing Lana a mug of tea. "It's like you found a piece of yourself that was missing." Indeed, Lana felt alive, more so than she ever had during her marriage. She worked tirelessly, setting up networking events and reaching out to her old design contacts. She perfected her pitch for prospective clients, focusing on a holistic approach that blended technology with interior design. She wanted every home her team worked on to feel warm and personal, yet equipped with the best smart solutions. During these whirlwind weeks, she barely checked Adrian's social media. Occasionally, Mia would give her a disapproving look whenever she caught her glancing at his latest posts. Lana learned, however, that ignorance was bliss. The less she saw of Adrian and Natasha flaunting their lifestyle, the more focused she remained on her own growth. As her confidence grew, so did her venture. The first major client was a boutique hotel chain looking to renovate their lobbies and suites with cutting-edge tech. Lana's pitch was flawless. She showcased samples of sleek, interactive wall designs that allowed guests to control lighting, temperature, and even digital art displays with a simple voice command. The hotel executives were impressed with her meticulous planning and eye for detail. "We'll be in touch," the lead executive said, shaking her hand firmly. On the way out, Ethan nudged her. "That was brilliant. You owned that room, Lana." She couldn't stop smiling. This wasn't just about proving something to Adrian anymore, it was about proving something to herself. She was capable, talented, and deserving of success. By the end of the day, they got the contract. Lana's first big deal as CEO. The moment she hung up the phone, she let out an exhilarated laugh. She had done it. She was officially in business. As Lana's business began gaining momentum, her personal transformation also took root. With Ethan's encouragement, she started prioritizing her well-being. Each morning, she visited a local gym, signing up for strength training and cardio classes. At first, she felt self-conscious in her workout clothes, but the supportive environment soon helped her shed her insecurities. Within a month, she noticed her stamina improving. She felt stronger, both physically and mentally. The weight of heartbreak began to recede, replaced by a newfound sense of empowerment. She also consulted a nutritionist, not to meet anyone else's standards, but to feel healthy and vibrant in her own skin. Meals became colorful salads, lean proteins, and homemade smoothies, foods that fueled her busy days. On weekends, she'd treat herself to small indulgences, a luxurious face mask, a manicure, or a new outfit that made her feel confident. She found a skilled hairstylist who suggested subtle highlights, adding dimension to her once lackluster locks. Each time she glanced in the mirror, she saw a fresh version of herself, a woman who had survived betrayal and was now thriving. One afternoon, Ethan scheduled a professional photo shoot for the company's promotional materials. Initially, Lana felt nervous about posing for the camera. However, the photographer guided her gently, making her feel comfortable. By the end of the session, she was smiling brightly and radiating a renewed self-assurance. "That's the shot," the the photographer exclaimed, reviewing a stunning portrait. "You look powerful and poised." Lana blushed with pride. Later that day, as she scrolled through the proofs, she couldn't believe how different she looked compared to the woman who once cried herself to sleep on Mia's couch. The transformation wasn't merely physical, it was emotional, mental, and spiritual. Even her wardrobe began to reflect her new status. She swapped her old conservative clothes for tailored blazers, chic blouses, and pencil skirts that highlighted her figure without sacrificing professionalism. Little by little, she claimed her identity back, an identity that was fully her own, independent of Adrian or anyone else. One morning, she caught a glimpse of herself in the mirrored walls of the gym. A memory flashed, Adrian mocking her for gaining a few pounds during a stressful period. Now, she silently thanked him for driving her to this point. His cruelty had ignited a spark that was turning her into someone unstoppable. Months flew by, and Lana's business, aptly named Interior Innovations, became the talk of the industry. The boutique hotel renovation was a smash hit, leading to rave reviews from guests who marveled at the seamless blend of technology and design. This success attracted new clients, luxury apartment complexes, tech-savvy homeowners, and even corporate offices wanting to modernize their spaces. Lana hired a small but passionate team. She carefully selected creative individuals who shared her vision for innovative design paired with user-friendly technology. Her office was housed in a sleek, open-concept space in a bustling downtown district, courtesy of Ethan's connections. Every day, she felt a surge of excitement walking in, seeing her ideas come to life in real time. Success brought interviews and magazine features. Business magazines applauded her unique approach, labeling her a rising star in the tech and design world. Even social media buzzed with clips of her keynote presentations at industry events. She was no longer just Adrian's wife. She was Lana Jones, CEO, a name people recognized on its own merits. Her bank account reflected her hard work. With each new contract, her company's profit soared, enabling her to invest in better equipment, top talent, and philanthropic endeavors that aligned with her values. She sponsored workshops for women interested in design and entrepreneurship, determined to give back and help others find their footing. One Friday evening, she paused in her office, staring at the skyline as the sun dipped behind the city's skyscrapers. A wave of gratitude washed over her. She remembered the countless nights spent crying, the heartbreak that had once consumed her. Now she was standing on her own 2 feet, stronger and wiser. Ethan knocked softly on her glass door. "We just signed 2 more corporate clients," he announced, a proud grin lighting up his face. "Looks like we'll need more staff soon." "That's incredible," Lana said, her voice tinged with awe. "I can't believe how far we've come." He stepped inside, hands in his pockets. "Believe it. It's all you, your vision, your leadership. I just gave you a little push." "Thank you," she said, her eyes shining. "I owe you so much." Ethan shook his head. "You don't owe me a thing. If anything, you're proving that my faith in you was well placed." In that moment, Lana realized she had done more than rebuild her life. She had expanded it in ways she never dreamed possible. And she wasn't done yet. Her newfound success eventually placed Lana on the same social circuit Adrian frequented. At a high-profile charity gala for a local children's hospital, she found herself on the guest list, seated at a table reserved for prominent donors and business figures. The event's theme was an elegant masquerade. Lana wore a sleek black gown that hugged her figure and a delicate lace mask that accentuated her eyes. She was chatting animatedly with a potential client when she sensed a sudden shift in the atmosphere. It was as though the music quieted, and the crowd parted. She turned, and there he was, Adrian, standing a few feet away. For a moment, her heart raced. She hadn't seen him in person since the day he locked her out. He looked older, or perhaps that was just her perception. Stress lines creased his forehead, and there was a tense set to his jaw. Their eyes locked. She watched a flicker of shock cross his features, replaced by an unreadable expression. "Lana," he finally said, as if he couldn't believe his own eyes. "Yes," she replied calmly. Slowly, she reached up and removed her lace mask. Her lips curved into a polite smile, as though she were greeting a distant acquaintance rather than her estranged husband. He approached cautiously, scanning her designer gown and noticing the confident posture she now exuded. "You look different," he commented, trying and failing to sound casual. "Thank you," she said, tilting her head in acknowledgement. She offered no explanation, not wanting to feed his curiosity. She could feel the eyes of onlookers, curious about the tension between them. From the corner of her vision, she spotted Natasha, draped in a gaudy, shimmering dress that screamed for attention. Natasha looked uneasy, as though she recognized that this was no longer the meek Lana she'd dismissed. Adrian cleared his throat. "I heard you started some new business?" She nodded, crossing her arms. "Yes, I did. And it's thriving. Excuse me, I need to get back to my table. I hope you enjoy the evening." Without waiting for a response, she turned and walked away. She could practically feel Adrian's shock drilling into her back. By the time she reached her table, her hands were trembling slightly from the adrenaline. But she kept her composure, refusing to let him see any vulnerability. In one swift encounter, she had shown Adrian that she was no longer the same woman he had discarded. She was stronger, more successful, and in control. And as she resumed her conversation with her tablemates, she allowed herself a small, victorious smile. Later that evening, Lana found a quiet corner near the grand ballroom's exit to take a moment for herself. The meeting with Adrian had unsettled her more than she cared to admit. Despite her poised demeanor, her emotions swirled like a storm inside. She was proud of how she'd handled it, but old memories flooded back, reminding her of heartbreak and betrayal. Just as she took a calming breath, she felt a presence behind her. She turned to see Adrian approaching cautiously, like someone entering a lion's den. His hands were stuffed into the pockets of his tailored suit, and a tightness around his eyes spoke of underlying tension. "Lana, I just wanted a moment," he said, voice subdued. She squared her shoulders. "What is it?" He sighed heavily, glancing around to make sure no one else could overhear. "I know this might not mean much now, but I'm sorry for everything." Her heart twinged. "I appreciate that," she replied, keeping her voice level. She could see an unfamiliar vulnerability in his eyes. Regret, perhaps? He rubbed the back of his neck. "You've changed so much. It's like looking at a completely different person." She met his gaze. "I'm the same person I always was. You just never bothered to see me clearly." He opened his mouth to respond, but no words came out. Instead, he looked at the floor, then back at her. "Listen, I've been struggling with some business issues. Natasha is, well, she's not as supportive as I hoped she'd be." A flicker of satisfaction coursed through Lana, but she masked it. She recalled the cruel words Adrian had thrown at her, claiming Natasha was everything Lana wasn't. Now it seemed he was learning that the grass isn't always greener. "I'm sorry to hear that," she said, her tone dispassionate. He lingered, possibly hoping for more sympathy or an invitation to talk. But she remained silent, determined to keep her distance. At length he said, "I just want you to know, I never meant to hurt you the way I did." She shot him a pointed look. "You didn't mean it, but you did it all the same." For a fleeting second, she saw the raw regret in his eyes, an emotion she never thought he was capable of feeling. Yet she felt no inclination to comfort him, no desire to reignite anything between them. She had moved on, and no apology could undo the damage he had caused. With that, she offered him a polite nod and walked away, leaving him standing alone in the soft glow of the ballroom lights. All the remorse in the world wouldn't change the fact that she was done letting him overshadow her life. Adrian's eyes followed Lana as she returned to her table, where Ethan was now seated, speaking animatedly with other guests. Adrian noticed how Ethan's face lit up when Lana approached, how she leaned down to whisper something in his ear that made him laugh. A wave of jealousy coursed through Adrian's veins, something he never anticipated feeling. He had cast Lana aside, believing she was holding him back. Now, not only was she proving him wrong, she was doing so in the company of a successful man like Ethan. Adrian couldn't help but recall how Lana used to dote on him, ensuring every aspect of his life was organized. Yet now, she was thriving without him. The realization gnawed at his pride. Natasha sidled up to him, carrying a glass of champagne, her attention drifting across the crowd, searching for someone more influential to talk to. Adrian barely registered her presence. He was too focused on Lana, her radiant smile, her confident posture, her ability to command attention with ease. Unable to contain his curiosity, Adrian leaned toward Natasha and muttered, "That's my ex-wife over there." Natasha glanced over dismissively, failing to see what the big deal was. "She seems different," she commented, sipping her champagne. "But why do you look so disturbed?" Adrian didn't answer, but his jaw clenched. He thought back to the day he locked Lana out, the triumphant satisfaction he'd felt at being free. Now he felt a pang of loss, as though he had discarded a rare gem without recognizing its true value. His new life with Natasha was not what he'd envisioned. Her interests lay in constant luxury and parties, and she offered none of the steadfast support Lana once did. At the end of the evening, Adrian watched from a distance as Lana and Ethan posed for photos with other business magnates. The cameras flashed, capturing Lana's triumphant smile. Rage and regret swirled within Adrian. He wanted to be the one by her side, the one basking in her glow. But he had made his choice. Standing at the periphery of the crowd, Adrian felt a crack in his self-assured facade. The seeds of jealousy took root, threatening to grow into a bitter vine wrapped around his heart. The gala concluded, and Lana returned to her penthouse apartment. Yes, a penthouse. She had moved out of Mia's place months ago after her business took off, investing in a luxurious space that matched her new status. The city lights sparkled through floor-to-ceiling windows, reflecting her triumphant transformation. She was just slipping off her heels when her phone buzzed. A familiar number flashed on the screen, causing her stomach to flip. Adrian. Memories flooded her, nights spent waiting for his call, the warm glow she used to feel at hearing his voice. Now, she felt only a tense curiosity. Against her better judgment, she answered. "Hello." He paused. "Lana, it's Adrian. I know who it is. What do you want?" His voice wavered, betraying the confidence he usually exuded. "I just wanted to check on you, see how you've been." A bitter laugh escaped her lips. "Check on me? Adrian, you've made it clear you don't care about my well-being." He sighed heavily. "Look, I know I handled things badly. Badly?" she interjected. "You threw me out like garbage. I had nowhere to live, barely any money. Badly is an understatement." The silence on the other end was palpable. I'm sorry," he finally said, voice strained. "Things are falling apart for me, and I realized how much you used to handle. Natasha isn't exactly. She's not what I expected." Lana felt a surge of anger, but also an odd sense of vindication. "That's not my problem. You made your bed, Adrian. Now lie in it." She heard him inhale sharply, as though bracing for a blow. "Maybe we could talk in person? Please, just once. We could meet somewhere neutral." For a split second, she considered it. Old habits tugged at her heart. But then she remembered the humiliation, the betrayal, and the tears that had once drowned her. "No," she said flatly. "I have no interest in rehashing the past. I'm moving forward." "Lana." "Don't call me again," she cut in. "Goodbye, Adrian." She ended the call and stared at her reflection in the glass window. Instead of sorrow, she felt relief. Adrian's desperation wouldn't undo the damage he'd inflicted. It wouldn't erase the hardships she'd faced alone. She exhaled, letting the tension drain from her body. For the first time in a long while, she felt entirely free from Adrian's shadow. After Lana ended the call, Adrian slipped into a maelstrom of chaos. His business investments faltered, risky ventures that once seemed promising turned sour due to a volatile market and poor decisions. Natasha, who thrived on lavish parties and spending sprees, showed no interest in helping him strategize or cut back. Instead, she pestered him for vacations, designer handbags, and extravagant gifts. When his bank statements arrived with alarming figures, Adrian felt panic constrict his throat. He tried to secure loans to keep his floundering ventures afloat, but creditors were wary. His once stellar reputation had taken a hit, especially after rumors spread of questionable deals. Natasha was oblivious, or perhaps she just didn't care, until the day Adrian had to pawn one of her diamond bracelets to cover a portion of the mortgage. She erupted in anger, calling him a failure. In a heated argument, she threw a glass vase at the wall, screaming that she didn't sign up for poverty. Days later, he came home to find her belongings gone. A terse note on the dining table read, "I'm moving on to better prospects." Humiliated and alone, Adrian realized how drastically his life had changed. He stared around the empty house, which felt like a ghostly echo of the home he once shared with Lana. Everywhere he looked, he saw reminders of her touch, the tasteful decor, the well-organized kitchen, the subtle color schemes she'd selected. He'd taken her efforts for granted, dismissing them as trivial. Now, he knew exactly how valuable she'd been, both to the home and to his life. Desperate, he tried reaching out to former associates for help, but doors that once swung open for him were now slammed shut. They had moved on to new partnerships, or they were already doing business with someone else, Lana Jones. The irony was not lost on him. He had helped shape her business acumen, only to become overshadowed by her meteoric rise. Sitting alone in the dimly lit living room, an overdue stack of bills on the table, Adrian felt regret burn deeper than ever. He realized the harsh truth. He had thrown away the one person who had truly cared about him, all for an illusion of grander success. Now, he was left with nothing. Financially cornered and fueled by desperation, Adrian decided on a bold, audacious move. He would try to claim a portion of Lana's newfound wealth. He rationalized it to himself. He had been married to her when she started discovering her aptitude for business, and perhaps, in some twisted way, he deserved compensation. After all, he had taught her the basics, hadn't he? He contacted a lawyer known for handling contentious divorce settlements. The lawyer, eager for a high-profile case, argued they had a plausible claim if they could prove Adrian's contributions to Lana's career growth. Adrian knew most of that was nonsense, but he clung to any lifeline available. Lana received the summons a week later. At first, she was stunned. Then she grew livid. She marched into Ethan's office, clutching the legal documents, her eyes blazing. "He wants half of everything I've built," she seethed. "After all he did to me." Ethan leaned back in his chair, studying the papers. "He's claiming spousal support, alleging he indirectly helped you develop your business acumen. It's laughable, but we need to address it seriously." Lana nodded, jaw clenched. She was furious that Adrian would stoop so low. Yet she also knew she had come too far to let him bully her into giving up her hard-earned success. "I'll fight him," she declared, voice firm. Ethan placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We'll get the best legal team. Don't worry." The days leading up to the first hearing were tense. Lana's legal counsel prepared evidence of her sole ownership, her self-made business plan, and numerous testimonies from colleagues who could confirm Adrian had no involvement in her ventures. Each piece of evidence only fueled her resolve. On the morning of the court session, Lana dressed in a tailored black pantsuit that exuded confidence. She walked into the courthouse flanked by her lawyers, ignoring the curious glances from bystanders. Adrian was already there, pacing in the corridor. He looked tired, dark circles under his eyes, his suit slightly wrinkled. When their eyes met, she saw a flash of regret, perhaps even sorrow. But she hardened her heart. This was war. The judge opened the proceedings, reviewing the documents methodically. Adrian's lawyer presented their case, painting him as a supportive husband who had nurtured Lana's growth. Lana's team countered with facts, receipts, and personal statements, dismantling the flimsy argument. By the end of the day, it was clear the judge wasn't convinced by Adrian's claims. Still, the court date was extended to allow further review. Lana left the courtroom exhausted, but determined. She refused to let him tarnish her success with his lies. This was just the beginning of their legal battle. The final court date arrived 2 weeks later, drawing significant media attention. Rumors had circulated that Adrian was attempting to claim half of Lana's thriving empire. Sensing a chance to make a statement, Lana chose to make a grand entrance. That morning, she carefully selected her outfit, a sleek designer gown that blended professionalism with high fashion. She wanted to look every bit the successful entrepreneur she was. Ethan arrived early to accompany her, offering a Rolls-Royce from his fleet of company vehicles. Lana hesitated briefly, never one to flaunt, but Ethan encouraged her. "Let the world see your success," he said with a supportive smile. "After all, you earned it." As they pulled up to the courthouse steps, cameras flashed in a frenzy. Journalists and onlookers gathered, sensing a high-stakes showdown. Lana stepped out of the Rolls-Royce, her chin held high, sunglasses shielding her eyes from the glare of the late morning sun. Ethan exited right behind her, offering a steadying hand. The sight was nothing short of cinematic. Lana, radiant and composed, walking confidently toward the courthouse with Ethan by her side. Reporters shouted questions, snapping pictures and recording video. The moment felt surreal, like stepping onto a red carpet at a glamorous event, except the stakes were far more personal. Inside the courthouse, Adrian was already seated, fiddling nervously with his tie. His eyes flicked up at the sound of commotion, and the sight of Lana and Ethan stunned him. She appeared poised, untouchable, like a queen entering her domain. His gaze fell on Ethan's protective stance beside her, and envy flashed across his features. Ignoring Adrian's glare, Lana took her place at the plaintiff's table, her lawyers by her side. The judge entered, calling the session to order. A hush fell over the room as everyone sensed the tension between the two opposing parties. For Lana, the moment was about more than legalities. It was about closure. She had arrived not as a victim, but as a victor. No matter the outcome, she knew she had already won in the grand scheme of life. This was merely the final act, where she would claim the justice she deserved. And as she settled in her seat, she allowed herself a small smile. The day of reckoning had finally come. The courtroom air was thick with anticipation. Adrian's lawyer opened with a lengthy monologue attempting to paint Adrian as a mentor figure, claiming he laid the groundwork for Lana's success. But when the judge asked for tangible proof, the argument crumbled. Adrian squirmed in his seat, his lawyer stammering through half-baked justifications. Lana's legal team went on the offensive, presenting an organized timeline of her business growth, client testimonials, funding records, and the clear separation of finances once Adrian had filed for divorce. Each piece of evidence was a nail in the coffin of Adrian's claim. As the proceedings broke for a brief recess, Adrian stood and hurried over to Lana. His eyes were desperate, voice hushed. "Lana, please, can we talk alone?" She stiffened, but curiosity got the better of her. She nodded to her lawyers, then stepped aside to a quieter corner of the corridor with him. "What is it, Adrian?" she asked, arms folded. He ran a hand through his hair, swallowing hard. "I'm sorry about all of this. I never wanted it to go this far." She lifted an eyebrow. "You filed the claim. What did you think would happen?" He looked genuinely distressed. "I've lost everything. My money, my reputation. Natasha left me. I'm alone." A flicker of pity crossed her heart, but she quickly buried it. "That was your choice. You ended us." He nodded, cheeks flushed. "I know. I was a fool. Lana, can't we try again?" Her mouth fell open in shock. "Are you serious? After everything you did to me, you want me to give you another chance?" Adrian stepped closer, dropping his voice. "Please. I've realized I still love you. I was blinded by greed." Lana let out a mirthless laugh. "You only say that now because you're broke and alone. Don't mistake regret for love." Tears glistened in his eyes. "I swear, it's not just that. Sorry, Adrian. But I've moved on. You should too." She turned to walk away, leaving him trembling with regret. It was a final, definitive rejection, one that echoed the heartbreak he had once inflicted on her. And though the old Lana might have hesitated or taken pity on him, this new Lana knew better. She couldn't afford to bend for someone who had shattered her life without remorse. When court resumed, the judge delivered a concise but firm ruling. Adrian's case lacked any legitimate basis to claim Lana's assets, given the evidence presented. Lana was awarded full rights to her business and holdings, and Adrian was ordered to pay for her legal fees due to the frivolous nature of his lawsuit. The judge even reprimanded Adrian's lawyer for presenting such a weak argument, warning him about future misconduct in court. Lana felt a surge of relief and triumph. The tension that had coiled in her chest throughout the trial finally dissolved. She couldn't hide her smile as she gathered her documents, shaking hands with her legal team in gratitude. Adrian sat hunched over at his table, eyes fixed on the ground. Every part of him radiated defeat. Reporters in the gallery scribbled notes, some even snapping covert photos of his dejected state. The symbolism was stark, the once confident mogul reduced to a broken shell. Outside the courtroom, Lana was met with a flurry of camera flashes. Journalists clamored for a statement, and she gave a brief one, emphasizing her gratitude for the fair legal system and her focus on continuing her philanthropic and business endeavors. Ethan stood protectively by her side, ensuring she wasn't overwhelmed. Together, they headed toward the Rolls-Royce waiting at the curb. Adrian, trailing behind, tried to approach them once more, but security intervened, blocking his path. The last Lana saw of him that day was his slumped figure standing under the courthouse pillars, looking older and more defeated than she could ever have imagined. As she slid into the luxurious leather seats of the Rolls-Royce, relief mingled with a profound sense of closure. She had won, not just the court case, but the battle for her dignity and independence. She thought back to the dark days when she had felt powerless, locked out of her own home, wondering if she'd ever reclaim her life. Now, she was free. When Lana and Ethan emerged from the courthouse, a wave of applause broke out from a few curious onlookers who had followed the story. Lana was momentarily taken aback. She wasn't used to such public attention, especially not in the form of cheers. But she acknowledged them with a polite smile and a nod. Ethan opened the car door for her, and as she slipped inside, cameras flashed wildly. The paparazzi thronged, shouting questions about her next steps. Instead of feeling overwhelmed, Lana felt an odd sense of calm confidence. This was her moment of victory, a tangible symbol that she had fought back against the injustice inflicted upon her. Safely in the back seat, she closed her eyes for a moment, letting the adrenaline subside. She heard Ethan's voice through the open door, politely declining interviews and urging reporters to respect Lana's privacy. Finally, the driver pulled away from the curb, leaving the chaos of the courthouse behind. "You did it," Ethan said quietly, once they'd settled into traffic. He studied her face, a soft smile tugging at his lips. A small laugh escaped her. "We did it. Thank you for standing by me." "It was never a question," he replied, his tone sincere. They lapsed into a comfortable silence. The city skyline stretched out before them, a testament to the opportunities that lay ahead. An hour later, they arrived at a rooftop restaurant to celebrate with a select group of close friends and business associates. As Lana stepped onto the terrace, people erupted in cheers and clinks of champagne flutes. Mia rushed forward, pulling her into a tight hug. "You looked so fierce walking out of that courtroom," Mia exclaimed. "I'm so proud of you." Lana grinned, emotions swirling within. "I feel free," she said, struggling to articulate the profound sense of release coursing through her. She had fought for her life, her identity, and her worth, and she had come out on top. Amid the laughter and chatter, she caught a glimpse of the city lights below, twinkling like scattered diamonds. A gentle breeze brushed against her face, carrying away the last remnants of her past turmoil. Tonight was more than a celebration of a legal victory. It was a celebration of self-reclamation. She was no longer defined by betrayal or heartbreak. She was defined by her resilience and triumphant spirit. The rooftop dinner was a glamorous affair, punctuated by toasts and heartfelt speeches. Colleagues praised Lana for her unwavering leadership, noting how her dedication had transformed interior innovations into a formidable industry player. Old friends expressed awe at her personal growth, recalling the timid woman she used to be. Mia spoke up at one point, voice trembling with emotion. "I remember Lana sobbing on my couch, feeling like the world had ended. And now look at her, shining brighter than any star in this city." A chorus of agreement and applause followed. Lana blushed, sipping her champagne. She spotted Ethan smiling approvingly, his eyes brimming with pride. She realized how lucky she was to have found unwavering support, even when she felt at her lowest. Between courses of exquisite cuisine, filet mignon, seared scallops, and decadent chocolate mousse, Lana mingled with her guests. She answered questions about her plans, branching into luxury retail design, introducing an eco-friendly tech initiative, and even launching a scholarship program for aspiring designers. But amid the success and celebration, there was an air of simplicity to Lana's joy. She wasn't the same person who craved external validation from her spouse. Now, she found fulfillment in her accomplishments, her relationships, and her philanthropic aims. No single individual could define her happiness ever again. As the evening wound down, guests drifted away, leaving just a core group behind. They moved to a quieter corner, sharing funny anecdotes and inside jokes. Mia teased Ethan about his protective nature. "So, Ethan, are you Lana's bodyguard or her business partner?" He laughed. "A bit of both, I guess." Lana rolled her eyes good-naturedly. "He's also my personal chauffeur, apparently. That Rolls-Royce entrance was his idea." They all laughed, the conversation laced with genuine warmth. By the time the last champagne flute was drained, Lana felt an overwhelming sense of peace. She realized this was the life she was always meant to lead, one of collaboration, respect, and authenticity. Adrian's shadow was gone, replaced by the bright glow of her own hard-earned success. A month later, Lana stopped by a cozy cafe after a morning gym session. Dressed in yoga pants and a lightweight jacket, she ordered her usual green tea latte. As she waited, scanning through her emails, she heard someone speak her name. She turned to see Adrian, standing a few feet away. He looked nothing like the polished entrepreneur she once knew. His suit was ill-fitting, his tie loosened, and a hollow look haunted his eyes. She felt a jolt of surprise. She hadn't expected to see him here, of all places. "Lana," he said, stepping closer. "Can we talk?" She hesitated, glancing at her watch. A meeting with potential investors was in half an hour, and she didn't want to be late. Still, something in Adrian's demeanor compelled her to give him a moment. She nodded curtly, gesturing to a nearby table. He settled into a seat, wringing his hands. "How have you been?" he ventured, voice strained. She arched an eyebrow. "I've been well." He nodded, taking in her casual but confident demeanor. "You look really healthy. Happy." "I am," she said simply, not offering further detail. She waited for him to state his business. He swallowed hard. "I've been struggling. A lot. My business is folded. My house is in foreclosure. I came to apologize." Again. A flicker of pity tugged at her, but she held firm. "Apology accepted. But it doesn't change anything." He nodded, eyes downcast. "I just needed you to know that. I never appreciated you, never realized what I had until I lost it. And now—" He trailed off, voice choking with regret. Lana sighed. Her phone buzzed with a calendar reminder. Time was ticking. "I appreciate your apology, Adrian. Truly. But I don't have anything else to say. The past is the past." His lips trembled as he nodded. "I understand." She stood, slinging her gym bag over her shoulder. "I have to go." She paused, meeting his gaze one last time. "Take care of yourself." Without another word, she left the cafe, her latte in hand. She didn't look back, didn't feel compelled to. In that moment, she understood that she had truly moved on, her life no longer tethered to Adrian or his regrets. As Lana walked out of the cafe, she felt a sense of finality. The chapter of her life that included Adrian was well and truly closed. The old wounds had healed into scars that no longer throbbed with pain. Even his heartfelt apology couldn't stir her emotions the way it once would have. Later that day, she drove home in her sleek new car, an indulgence she'd gifted herself after securing a major deal with a multinational corporation. As she navigated the city streets, her mind briefly drifted back to Adrian's despairing figure in the cafe. For a moment, she felt a pang of sympathy. She knew what it was like to be lost and hopeless. Yet, she also knew it was his choices that had led him there. She paused at a red light, the hum of traffic surrounding her. Glancing at the rearview mirror, she saw her own reflection, poised, confident, and content. The memory of Adrian's cruelty no longer held power over her. She was free. That evening, she sat by the floor-to-ceiling windows in her penthouse, sipping herbal tea and watching the city lights twinkle. It felt surreal to think about where she had been just a short time ago, sleeping on Mia's couch, broken and uncertain. Now, she was a force to be reckoned with, her influence stretching across industries. She thought about Ethan, about the unwavering support from Mia, and the steps she had taken to rediscover her own strength. A gentle breeze rustled the curtains, and she inhaled deeply, as though breathing in the promise of a bright, unburdened future. Adrian was merely a footnote in her story now, an early chapter that shaped her but did not define her. Tomorrow held endless possibilities, and she embraced them all with open arms. In the weeks that followed, Lana threw herself wholeheartedly into her passions, expanding interior innovations, mentoring young entrepreneurs, and exploring philanthropic projects that brought her immense joy. She continued her fitness routine, maintaining a healthy lifestyle that nourished both body and mind. The media still occasionally tried to sensationalize her story, scorned wife becomes self-made millionaire. But Lana paid it little attention, preferring to focus on the meaningful work at hand. Ethan remained a close ally, and their connection hinted at something deeper. Their bond had blossomed from friendship into a respectful partnership, layered with mutual admiration. Whether their relationship would evolve further, Lana didn't rush to define it. She was simply grateful to have a confidant who truly understood her journey. One afternoon, she visited a local women's shelter that she sponsored, speaking to a group of residents about resilience and transformation. As she looked into their hopeful yet wary faces, she saw reflections of her past self, people who had been cast aside, doubted, and pushed to their limits. She shared her story, explaining how she rose from heartbreak and homelessness to become a successful businesswoman. By the time she finished, tears and applause filled the room. Walking out of the shelter, Lana felt a profound sense of purpose. This was, she realized, the sweetest victory of all, not the Rolls-Royce or the penthouse, but the ability to uplift others who found themselves at the same crossroads of despair she once faced. That evening, she received a text message from an unknown number, likely another reporter fishing for a quote. She opened it hesitantly, only to discover it was Adrian. "I'm glad you found your happiness. I truly am. Take care. Adrian." She stared at the message for a moment, considering how best to respond. In the end, she deleted it, placing the phone aside. Some doors are best left closed. Standing at her penthouse window, she gazed at the city skyline one last time. The journey had been painful, but it had shaped her into a powerful, resilient woman. She was living proof that the best revenge isn't about hurting those who hurt you. It's about transcending the pain, rising above, and flourishing on your own terms. And she was at peace with that truth. Utterly, finally, beautifully at peace. I'm glad you made it to the end. I hope you enjoyed the story.